In this brief tutorial, we look at the powerful alternatives to VLOOKUP, which are the index and match functions, and how to use them to find specific information from a data table. We're going to learn a few other powerful features at the same time, like including lists for data validation and examples of how to combine functions, nesting one inside the other, so together they can complement and expand their individual capabilities. Okay, so we'll use a similar table of student records to the one we used in the previous lesson. This time we have the scores for the courses they took in the semester. The idea is that we can build a simple tool that will allow us to select the last name of a student and obtain the associated scores for each course. Ideally, this can or should be done in a separate worksheet, as part of a report, dashboard, or analytics. But in this case, we'll be using the right side of the worksheet, just to make it easier to demonstrate here. Okay, let's start by adding a drop-down list with all the student names. We can do that with data validation as we've done before. Select the cell next to last name and go to the Data tab. There, click on Data Validation. In the Allow drop-down, select List. For source, select the column for last name, from C2 to C21. Click OK, and now we have a drop-down list with the students' last names. Plus, because we're using tables, if later on we add new student records, this will be automatically added in our drop-down. Now, we'll use index and match to create relations between our tables, so they react to our drop-down selection. Next to match, let's add our first formula. Start with equal, index. Now we need to add the array from where we'll be taking the information. So select the whole table. Now, next is where things get interesting. As row number, in this case we want to use instead the student last name. So when it's selected in the dropdown, it could return a column value. To make this possible, we'll use the match function in its place. So enter match. Now we need to look up value for match, which in this case is what we select in the K2 dropdown. As this is the main element to control the table, we want to keep it constant. So let's turn it into an absolute reference by pressing F4. And because we're using tables, any other value we use will be considered absolute by default. So if you are using data ranges instead of tables, you'll need to use absolute references, so keep that in mind. The lookup array is the column of last names, which is the information we want to retrieve. So make sure to include the column header in your selection. Then, the match type, which is similar to VLOOKUP, but here we have three options: less than, exact match, and greater than. For our purposes, we want to use exact match, which is identified by using a 0. Next, close the parentheses. Okay, so we have two sections of our formula done. We have the array, which is our full table, meaning the area to search for data. The row number, where we use instead match to call the K2 values, which are our drop-down from the last names column. Okay, now we need to match the course's name, which is the information from cells D to G. Again, we start with match. The lookup value this time will be the subject of the course. The lookup array is from A1 to G1, basically our table headers. We don't need to select the whole table, as in this case we only need to match the column headers. And again, the match type should be 0 for exact match. Then we close the match and close the index parentheses and press enter. Now our table is working well. It's displaying all grades for the students, and if we select a new student, the table will be updated. If we add new records to the table, the formula will stay updated and will include the new records. So congratulations.